Good morning, everybody. So I'm going to jump straight in because for someone who talks a lot, 30 minutes is not much. I just want to put a massive disclaimer up front that I am not an IT specialist. I am an HR dunny. So so be kind with those questions. I'm going to be poor with my examples. But I'm going to do a two-pronged approach. So firstly, I'll tell a little bit more about myself later, but I'm in learning design and program design, but not the computer programs you think. So graduate programs, internships, those kind of things. So I consult for a variety of companies in building their graduate programs. So I'm going to do two things this morning. Firstly, I'm going to just talk you through one of my most recent clients, someone I'm very excited about, which is Cipla Pharmaceuticals, and explain to you a bit about their grad program and where IT lives and computer science lives in the pharma space currently, sort of what is the conversations happening there. And then I'm going to pop over to some quick work readiness tips based on my experience of training and working and coaching grads. So I am going to draw on a little PowerPoint just for a little bit of visual aid, even though I'm not a massive fan of PowerPoint. So just going to quickly share my screen. Right. So to kick off with Cipla, so the Cipla grad program, they annually recruit about 15 to 20 graduates, no work experience required. You only need to be a South African citizen and have performed academically quite well. And you need to just have shown a bit of a diverse CV so that it isn't just you've just studied. And then we look at all kinds of different fields. It's not just pharmacists or healthcare professionals, but from across the field. And we bring these grads in to a 2-year bespoke graduate program. What I mean by bespoke is we're not just going to plug you into a corner and you're going to make coffee and photocopies for 2 years and you're going to sort of be an 11th player on a 10-man team. You're going to be a legit player on the team with the real roles and responsibilities. We will position you first in a space that obviously aligns with what you studied and your interest and based on the company's internal talent needs at the time. And then based on how you're performing and what you're enjoying and all the dynamics in the organization, we will then move you possibly into another space. To give an example, we've got a chemistry grad currently that worked in the labs, but she showed a lot of strategic flair and critical thinking skills. We've actually moved into the office of CEO on one of the projects there. So we really aim to walk a road with you to develop your technical skills, as well as your what they would call the soft skills, which I hate the word, but that's the one. So if I quickly go through the circle here, so it's 2 years real work experience, opportunities to work on key projects. So you won't just be sitting and observing, you'll be legit working on them. It's a competency development program, which means we look at identifying key competencies and driving their development. You'll receive exposure and coaching by subject experts. And that's what's quite nice about Cipla is it's quite a flat structure. So it doesn't take 15 years to get a message up the chain. In fact, you'll often be in a meeting and one of the directors will be at the table. So, and that's been quite refreshing. There's input and buy-in from your senior executives and curiosity as opposed to micromanaging. So that's really, really refreshing. You will also get a project management accreditation along the way. Cipla is part of a global company, so there'll be global collaboration and exposure because even though they'll be employed by Cipla South Africa is part of the greater Cipla, which is originated in India. And then you'll be working with people like myself and some of my colleagues who we do continuous goal setting and feedback and coaching. So in the moment of panic, you get to call me and say, what is happening? And I don't know, my boss is doing this and my team's doing this. And I can coach you through what to say, how to write the email and check your email and all those kind of thing. And then, like I said, there's rotation across key business unit based on your performance and interest. So what does the program look like? And then I will get to a little bit more to Cipla itself. So it starts with just phase one, the recruitment. And the recruitment generally starts, the applications open October, November-ish. So my advice to you is to follow Cipla on social media. They always announce it on there and they will announce the protocol and procedures to apply, but it will be through their website. So if you go to their website, click on careers, click on vacancies, don't click on the graduate tab. They just sort of change on the website and that tab isn't done correctly. So normal browse vacancies tab, it will take you to an external platform where you can sign in and look at all the vacancies globally to give you an idea. It's also nice to play around there to get an idea. It's always the advice that I give to grads: look what the job descriptions are asking for, look what they're listing as critical versus the nice to haves, because that can inform, because you guys have got a few months left before you need to walk into a job. So see what you're missing. It's a fantastic checklist to see where are you falling short, where do I need to beef up my CV. So yeah, you can go look at the vacancies, and then there's a whole interview and sort of process. It's quite a rigorous process, but you get a lot of feedback along the way. So even if you don't make it, it's a really nice process to be part of. And then you'll go into phase 2, which is onboarding, which is generally with someone like myself, and you're going to spend a month with me. It sounds like crazy. You'll be like, what? I just want to go do my work. But the important thing is there is a massive transition that must be managed from your structured formal learning environment at university to this incredibly unstructured, dynamic world of work. And they give you this opportunity to just breathe for a month and be intentional about how you make that transition. And then you go to phase 3, which is the majority of the program, and that's where the rotations live. And in your second year, we do the project management course with you. And then finally, towards the end, there's the offboarding phase. So where we wrap up, reflect, package, put together, and equip you to find the next job, whether it's in Cipla or whether it's outside of Cipla. So it's an end-to-end program. There's no guaranteed employment afterwards, but it's nice. It's 2 years. And generally, for those of you who've been job hunting, they're always asking at least 2 years work experience. And then you're like, but I don't have, and I need a job to get the experience. It's that vicious cycle. So this is quite nice because it's 2 years. So Cipla themselves, what is so Cipla is a pharmaceutical, and they're a generic company. So there's 2 types. You get your originator companies and you get your generics. The originators come up with the drugs first up. So the guys developing your COVID vaccines right now, they come up with original new ideas. There are those names that you know, such as Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer and all those familiar names. But coming up with new drugs is very expensive. There's a massive, massive research and development component. Then there's the clinical trials, and it can take 10 to 15 years to get a new drug on the market with massive, massive financial investment and no guarantee for success. Hence why drugs have got a patent to them that expires eventually. And then when it expires, the patent on what they call the active pharmaceutical ingredient expires, and you can then generics can jump in, and they then have access to that ingredient, and they can then bring drugs to market. So Cipla's motto is caring for life, and they want to bring more affordable healthcare to the many and not just the few. That's their motto. And I must say, I've been pleasantly surprised to see how that motto filters through into the organization. They really have a strong agenda. It's not a big, nasty pharmaceutical, as I thought when I walked in. They really do try to live up to their promise. So, which then means is the key playing field for a generic company is to say, how can we get our drug to market and beat the other generics? So first to market is the one with the most market share. And in there, and one of the incredible things that have happened is that our FDA, which is called Cipla, they've gotten really good at doing drug approval rates. So where that used to be a critical success factor for a pharmaceutical, you need to now find other ways. And the other ways lies in your big data. It lies on the sides of on the gifts that technology can bring to the table. And that's why there has been in Cipla a massive move in terms of our growth in the IT and the BI business units to see how can we change the face of what a pharmaceutical offers? How can we go beyond the pill? What can we do out there that plays in the space of healthcare, but isn't necessarily packaged as a drug? Or so that's where pharma is quite exciting. And I'm pretty sure it's not just Cipla that's thinking like that. So that just to keep your minds, because to think like that when you are looking for jobs, that they're in healthcare, there is such amazing projects and initiatives that are out there. So just sort of putting that sort of out there. So that's sort of where Cipla's at, and that's why there's generally always we've actually taken on 3 computer science graduates out of our 15 this year, and I can see another 3 at least for next year. So yeah, so that's the idea. There is also bursaries for undergrad studies, and that also similar advertising protocol, and similar again, you need to have a strong academic record and a South African citizen. So that's Cipla in a nutshell. You can also go to the YouTube channel. There are some videos there. There's a 2020 Career Connect video, which is a webinar we did, which tells you more about the company as well as the grad program applications. Any extra questions you might have will live there. Okay, I've blasted through that. So I'm going to just quickly move on to part 2. So I want to start by part 2 by telling you who I am, because I want to swing your head now from out of your studies into, I now need to go work. I need to now pay back these student loans and just start making a life. And so I'm part of, okay, so that's just one more Cipla thing, doesn't need that. So I'm part of a little team called Differentiate. We're brand new, so you won't find anything on us. We're basically a bunch of independent contractors that have got a differentiate agenda. So differentiate is the process of growing and learning and becoming what you're intended to be. I started from the science word, differentiate, not the maths one. So it's that process of growth and development. And we are a bunch of contractors that operate in that space, from talent management to facilitation to small business management. So, and we created this umbrella company because we like working for ourselves. We like consulting, but we miss the team environment. So that's the team environment. So we build consortiums out of it. We can, have shared accounts to stuff. So it becomes a very practical arrangement for a bunch of independent contractors. So it's a really cool space to be in. It's a lot of people are moving in that direction. But before you can go there, all of us worked in the corporates and honed our skills there. So you definitely want to find a really good organization to go and just sink your teeth in, find out what it looks like before you possibly step into a consulting role. So what I love is working with grads, working in this interface of your transition management, especially in this concept of work readiness. So why work readiness? So this is the equation that I say, and it upsets universities, and I'll explain to you why. Because I say education does not equal employability. You're going to walk out with this degree, and rightly so, you feel like, damn man, I should be able to walk into a job now. I've worked really hard, I've got all this knowledge, and then you can't walk into a job. And it's because you need to build this bridge. Yes, you've got this academic knowledge, but you need the practical knowledge of what conceptually I've learned play out in the world of work. Where do they cut corners? Where do they adapt it? What works, what doesn't work? Same for your technical skills. You would have learned a host of technical skills. How do they translate into a work project? And then lastly, and this is the most important one, is the integrated skills. So those are those critical cross-field competencies. That's not specific to IT. It's not specific to engineering or HR. It is your communication skills, your problem-solving skills, stress management, time management, conflict resolution, stakeholder engagement, all those things. And those are the ones, and I'm going to get back to my university comment, is that universities are so pressured to get you through the academic knowledge, to get it up to a standard of where you can do and deliver, that there's no time to develop these things sufficiently. And so you only learn this by working. And that's why organizations want 2 years work experience. They want someone else to have, groomed you like this. And so that's why I get excited when companies like Cipla decide to give a 1-month induction where we can be intentional about this. And there's these integrated skills. So that's where I sit and this is where I live. And as some of those of you are final year that are approaching towards the end, I want to just I'm going to bring 2 slides to your attention. The one is just typical pitfalls. And the other one is just what I recommend. I mean, I can talk about this for days. I mean, I literally run a 1-month training program on this, but I want to give you something practical to take away, that as you navigate all these organizations and offers and things, just some stuff that you can do for yourself. So where do grads typically fall short? And it's not your fault. Can I just put a disclaimer out there? I'm not saying it like, oh my gosh, grads are like these failures. Not at all. These things happen and it's normal for it to happen. I'm just making you aware of it. So typical pitfalls when you enter the maze of the world of work is contract and salary negotiations. So First, the big mistake is understand the difference between cost to company and take-home pay. Often they will give you a amount and you're like, yes, that's going to be my bank account at the end of the month. First end of the month came and it's like only 75% of what you spoke about and you're devastated. So understand the difference between cost to company and take-home pay. And there's nothing wrong asking for a dummy pay slip. When you negotiation, say, hey guys, can you just give me a mock-up of what my pay slip will look like? What's the kind of deductions I can expect? What is the tax implication looks like? So you just get to understand. Similarly, when it comes to a contract, most people are mortified when they see 15 days leave, i.e. for the rest of your life, you have 15 days, well, the next year or two along every work, you've got 15 days leave available to you. And you'll be like, what? Is that it? And there's going to be a lot of very blunt, harsh terms in there, and it's going to feel very impersonal, and it's going to feel like they're taking you on personally, but it's not. Go through the contract, take it to someone that you know that's been in the world of work, and just to check it out. There's something weird and funny in there, but don't be upset by the formality of it. Okay. And it leads me to my next concept, and that's the whole idea of business versus personal. It is not often, and it's a hard line for you guys to walk when you first enter the world of work. It says, my friend always says, you got to take off your little backpack of it's all about me and put it at the door and walk in and be like, it's all about the team. And if stuff happens, if they shoot down an idea or they correct something you do, it's not correcting you. It's correcting the process and the product. And there's that switch at taking things personally is hard. It's a hard transition to make. I still struggle, but it's really hard initially in the beginning. Second big pitfall is communication. It's a lazy word to put down there because it's such a big word. But what I mean by communication is grads are not good at acknowledging that I've received something. So I'll send you something and you'll just read it and you'll get on with it and you don't tell me that you've received it. You will be given an instruction and you will won't immediately check your understanding or ask questions of clarity. You'll just listen to survive or maybe listen to respond, but you don't listen to understand and check that feedback and ask the questions. And similarly, writing a business email, doing written correspondence, even though you guys have written projects and mini theses and all kinds of, and maybe even full-scale dissertations, business writing is just so different. And especially the second language students struggle to just get this business writing right, or just get it to a standard where you're comfortable and it doesn't take so long. Then the concept of transition to teamwork. Varsity, you have got a project, it's you know the consequences if it's late, you know if you can take it, and there's structure. And teamwork, if you don't do it, it's not about you suffering and losing 10%, the whole team suffers. And you got to sometimes give or take, you got to communicate, think forward, take some slack here. You can't operate in your little silo. And it's sometimes hard to get onto. Diary management is obvious one in terms of just, your diary is quite clear and set out now. You know when you have lectures, you know when you have tuts, you know when it's break, you know when exam time's coming. So there's like a predictability. With your diary, you're going to walk in with a to-do list, and then there's going to be meetings all day, and you're going to be like, well, when must I do my work if I'm in meetings from 8 to 5? And your bosses will look at you funny and be like, after hours, just get it done, you know. And then it's hard because you suddenly like, you're going to find yourself working through the night and figure things out until you get a rhythm, until you start learning, wait a minute, I'm going to block some time out of my diary here. I'm not going to, at best in the morning, so I'm going to make sure no one books me between 10 and 11 where possible. So you're going to start getting better at that. Then a big thing, contracting and managing expectations. So the contracting here is different to your job contract. So contracting is communicating with the explicit intent of making sure there's mutual understanding. So that means you're sitting down with a boss or a colleague, and when there's a project, you look at them and say to them, hey, okay, so let me just be clear. This is what you're looking for. This is your expected outcome, and this is how you'd like me to do. And then so it's just managing that expectation. So so when I was engaging with the team here at the Career Center, I'll be like, okay, cool. Let's just check. What is it you want to want? What's the length? What level am I pitching it at? Is this okay? So it's making sure that what the other person has in their head, you understand and can give to them, but at the same time that they understand where you're at. So you can contract and say, hey, I've just had something happen in my family. I'm not in a really good space. So I'm going to do my work, but if I'm a little downcast today, don't worry, I'm just going through something. And you contract that with key people. So it's just that intentional communication. Then another thing grads struggle with is asking for feedback. Super uncomfortable. It feels very personal. And you even though you're craving to know how am I doing and how can I do better, you struggle to ask for it. The other thing is also grads will work super hard and they will expect that job or that promotion, and they don't get it because working hard is different to working competent. You might be working the whole time, but you might not be doing what they need. And that kicks back to that asking feedback and managing expectations. Like, am I delivering? Is this what you want? Is this what the quality you want? No? Okay, tell me, take me there. How do I get it to the level you want? If you don't ask and you don't have a manager that's a natural good leader, and that's the other reality, guys, you might not get that cool leadership manager that they should be, because not all organizations do that. They don't necessarily assign the best managers to graduates. If you don't push for the feedback, you're not going to know what's expecting, where you're falling short, and then you're going to live in this bubble of I'm working hard, but you're not doing what they want you to do. Another one is problem solving. You guys are good. A lot of you will be good with the problem. I mean, hello, maths, it is just problem solving. But I'm talking about problem solving in the concept of you've been given a task and you've run into a dead end. What do you do? Do you throw your hands up and go, oh, I don't know what to do? Do you run to your boss and go, I don't know what to do? Or do you go and investigate the resources and come up with some form of solution? Grads tend to get to a point and go, and they just freeze and they don't take initiative. So you're not expected to know everything, not at all, but you're expected to ask questions, find resources, come up with something. Don't just pause. So it's just striking that balance. And then the other one is also synthesizing new information. It comes back to the communication, is that you hear the stuff, you listen to understand, but it doesn't stick. The nice thing about a degree is you've learned to deal with large volumes of information, but at your pace with a textbook that you can go by to, you can absorb and digest at your rate. Whereas at work, it just moves. It's fast, and you must absorb, and they're going to say it once and assume that you know what's happening. Like everything I'm saying now, this is the kind of speed and information sharing volume that can happen out there. And then lastly, the resilience factor in terms of stickability, staying in a job. So we see grads leaving fantastic opportunities to grow and develop because they haven't got that growth mindset. They don't realize that if I stick this out, if I just bite the bullet, then I'm going to walk out with something that now opened doors for me. But at the same time, grads leave because there's certain work and life realities. I know there are, there's student debts to be paid. There's black tax that needs to be paid. There are school fees to be paid. You need to live. So you're going to chase a job that gives you the best money. I get that. I completely get that. But I urge you just to activate within you that growth mindset, that biting the bullet for another 2 years can get you into a space where you can then access an even better job. But as a facilitator, I can spot those grads a mile away in terms of who's going to stick and who's not going to stick. Okay, so to close, what can you do in the meantime? So, I mean, I've just given you a host of stuff. So what are the small things that you can do on the side as you're finishing your degree? So the big thing is I'm shocked at how grads lack self-awareness. And it's because there is no time in the financial pressures, social pressures, academic pressures to take time to reflect on you, on me. How do I deal with pressure? What is my response? What's my default conflict management response? What makes me defensive? How do I de-stress? What is my coping skills? And, how do I communicate? When am I the most productive? What kind of leadership do I want and need? And you need to think about those things, because if you don't know it, how are you going to evaluate the organization you apply for? Because remember, an interview is a two-way process. How are you going to manage and fit into your team and contract well with team? And I always say reflective journaling. You've got to find a way of these concepts such as morning pages. You can buy a check in with a peer. You can have a check-in with a mentor where you have these scheduled debriefs where you reflect through things. I have a friend that drops me voice notes and I don't even have to listen to them. It's just her way of doing it. But I generally encourage the question. So pick something, a project, a week, an initiative, and say, what did I plan to do this week? What actually happened? And why was there a difference? Why didn't it happen what I set out to do? And therefore, what do I learn from it? And what will I do differently going forward? So those are good questions to ask yourself. Then social skills. Seek opportunities to speak publicly, especially if you're a second language speaker. Concepts like Toastmasters or any debating societies, seek publicly, where you can fail safe, okay, where you can make a fool and there's no consequences. It's not like it's a major presentation at work, no consequences. And get rejected. Now, I'm not saying get rejected and doesn't go ask a girl out and then she rejects you. There's a guy who did an activity called rejection proof. He did 100 days of rejection. Just go Google it, rejection proof, 100 days of rejection. And he went out because he struggled with rejection, and he set up social scenarios where he knew he was going to get rejected, so he could observe what he was doing and just learn to live through it. And it is fantastic to teach you the resilience and the tenacity and the calm to navigate feedback conversations, contracting conversations, conflict situations. I make you do those things on my courses. I take you out and say, there we go and ask for a Big Mac at Burger King and say what they do, you know? So those things. So go out there, get friends, and go do it, obviously in a safe way. And I had a grad ask a jewelry store if they can borrow an engagement ring to propose to their girlfriend. And obviously with all the heightened security in malls, there's so much trouble happens. So yeah, just be smart with what you do it. And then finally, communication. Guys, I know you're reading so much, but it's academic. Read more, find a good business blog to read, more sort of good journalistic articles to read so you can get into that way of expressing, and then write more. Whether it is part of your journaling, whether it's on the side, but start practicing writing more in a non-academic context, but in a business email correspondence context. So you don't have to dust off those skills when you start working. Okay, so that was me in a major nutshell. So I'm going to stop there.